So Lando has done an exclusive interview with Amos Auto Motor and Sport, the German motorsport publication. Talked about a lot of things, but in that he also confirmed, which I guess we kind of could have safely assumed, but translated from the German article, there have been talks with Red Bull. Now, there's kind of two trails of thought, I guess, on this, because I think the question is, could Lando have aggressively chased an opportunity at Red Bull versus staying on at McLaren? Now, obviously, Red Bull have a way better package at the moment, but they also have Max Verstappen. So I guess there's kind of two trails of thought on this, right? It's one that, Lando doesn't take it. He's kind of running from a fight with Max Verstappen, doesn't think he can beat him, so why go to Red Bull? Why not stay put? And I guess the other trail of thought is that he's very much the star boy at McLaren. He's that lead driver. And if the car can get to a place where it's near the Red Bull competing, then he's going to be the one leading the lines in attack. Now, he said it himself in the article. I've linked it below as well if you want to read it, that he is very much back in McLaren. In terms of long term, they've got this new wind tunnel coming. They've already got their amazing facility. Zach Brown's bringing in sponsors left, right and centre. So financially, they're looking in a much more secure place than they were when they had to get the big buyout. And obviously right now he's comfortably on top of his teammate. Obviously with Oscar Piastri coming in, it will be fascinating to see how that dynamic is next year, because Oscar's very much going to have a point to prove and Lando's not going to want to let Oscar get anywhere near. He will want to do to Oscar what he's done to Daniel this year. McLaren carry a big name. They carry a lot of clout. They carry a lot of history. And again, it's looking like they're going in a positive direction, maybe slower than he would have hoped for. And again, he said this in the article as well. He'd love to be fighting at the top, but realistically, he knows the car isn't there yet. I guess the question is the budget cap going to allow them to catch up with the top teams, basically? I mean, Williams have pedigree, and look at where they are. That doesn't really mean anything. It must have been tough for Lando seeing Max have all this success over recent years and build to a stage where he's now kind of a pretty dominant force in F1. And when I say dominant, I mean specifically about Max, because between the Red Bull and the Ferrari car, there really isn't that much in it. The Red Bull's clearly a better race car, but not by much. But I just think Max is making a big difference, right? And you look at how young Max still is. I mean, Lando's younger than Max technically, but Max is only 25, Put his art on his sleeve. He's put it out there that he wants to stay at Red Bull forever. Obviously, if they started being at the bottom of the pack, then I'm sure he'd reconsider that, right? But it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. Say, for example, Red Bull had their current car and the driver lineup was Sergio Perez and Alex Albon. Would Lando be more open to the idea of leaving and going to a Red Bull? I think he would. But do I think that's running from a fight? I think that's very harsh. Because look, being beaten by Max Verstappen is nothing to be ashamed of. The overwhelming majority of people, I mean, Max right now for me is the most informed driver in Formula One right now. I don't think in that Red Bull seat, I don't think anyone in the world would be beating Max Verstappen. Anyone. And Lando has to think about his career strategically. These decisions are important. We've seen how they can backfire, many instances for Fernando Alonso, and how they can turn out amazing, like when Lewis went from McLaren to Mercedes. Lando Norris is an incredibly talented racing driver. There's no doubt in my mind about that whatsoever. Jumping into that Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen, seeing what happened to Pierre, to Alex, and what's been happening to Checo in terms of that delta to Max. Like, from Red Bull's point of view, it's sweet. You look through the history books, whether it was, Sebastian Vettel winning title after title, whether it was Schumacher winning title after title, these typically have a 1-2 driver dynamic. And when that second driver doesn't play ball, like kind of Mark Webber in 2010, he wasn't prepared to just allow Vettel to lead the team. It came awfully close to Fernando winning that title. So I do question from Red Bull, like, why would they change the system they've got at the minute? Because it's clearly working. I think that Verstappen-Perez dynamic is pretty spot on for now. And again, my theory long term is that they're probably lining up a Nick de Vries type of driver to replace Checo a few years down the line. Having another hungry young driver with a lot to prove, and the talent of Lando Norris, that just gives me Hamilton-Rosberg vibes. Even though they get along really well, if Lando came into that team alongside Max, he would rock the boat. He would want to be fighting at the top. Because Lando's had 2019, 20, 21. He's in his fourth season in Formula One right now. And he's been fighting. He's got podiums, typically in the midfield. But you can understand he's got an appetite to win. Not just win races, by the way. If Lando just wanted to win races, then sure, go to Red Bull, get that second seat, do what Sergio's been doing and pick up the pieces when Max isn't winning. And I'm not sat here saying there's zero chance he would beat Max, but given the evidence, I can't say with confidence that I think Lando Norris would jump into that Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen and beat him. But again, if you just wanted race wins, fine. But if he wants to win titles, you just think that Red Bull and Max Verstappen, that's a done deal for maybe 10 years. Who knows? Better to hedge your bets with McLaren, who are moving in a positive direction, are investing in the facility, have that pedigree, have done it before, work well commercially for you, kind of ticks all the boxes, apart from being at the very top. That's the only box they're not ticking, which from a driver's point of view is the most important box. I think it's probably the right call to stick at McLaren. I kind of said this when Daniel Ricciardo left Red Bull. I didn't begrudge that move anywhere near as much as I begrudged the move from him leaving Renault. That was for me the big mistake from Daniel to leave Renault. I think leaving Red Bull, fine, if you want to create your own story elsewhere outside of Red Bull, where clearly and rightfully Red Bull are putting all their eggs in the Verstappen basket. Like, I don't think you can criticise Red Bull from a sporting point of view for doing that, because the kid's clearly mustard. Honestly, if I was to see Lando leaving, I feel like it would be more maybe a Mercedes. Like, we'll see how many more years get out of Lewis Hamilton in Formula 1, and then maybe alongside George Russell. Look, again, they would both want to be winning, and that could get a bit dicey. I can't see, if it was a George Lando at Mercedes, who would be like the solid number one driver. I don't think there would be, and that could be a problem. Maybe that could keep that door closed to Lando, because again, Charles at Ferrari, he's got a long-term contract. As much as it's not been great, they're at least giving him the car to fight for wins and get all these pole positions. So they're clearly doing something for Charles. Charles would be, I think, silly to bulk and jump, but then where does that leave an option for Lando? I think the best option for Lando is to stay at McLaren and hope that they can build that team into a team that can compete, and then he can be what Max Verstappen is to Red Bull, what Charles Leclerc is to Ferrari, and what George Russell will be, I think, once Lewis retires, to Mercedes. But yeah, what do you lot think? Let me know in the comments below. This is a super lean video. Just saw this story, thought I'd chuck this out. Nice way of putting a video together. Not too much edit, not too much faff. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll be in the comments. I'll see you down there. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.